This is high-speed chess. That's what you're watching.
What's going on, my guys? Today, actually, gotta unmute YouTube. Today we have a special video. Today we're gonna be reacting, debating ShowBizz. ShowBizz says Usyk's not a top 10 heavyweight. I have Usyk definitely in my top 5. Let's see what he says. I like ShowBizz. There's no hate to ShowBizz. Make sure you guys probably are already subscribed to him. So let's just get into the video.
Because I'm getting a lot of flack off of what I said on socials when I said Oleksander Usyk isn't a top 10 all-time great heavyweight.
Was it Jaguar F-type he's in, man? ShowBizz is a baller, man. I love ShowBizz, man.
At least in my opinion, all right? I do think he's an all-time great fighter, pound for pound ever, and I think he's high on that list. And for a lot of people, that's not enough for them. They want him to also be a top 10 all-time great heavyweight, which I think pound for pound all-time great fighter is more important than being an all-time great heavyweight. But just in that argument, and I think it's no argument that Oleksander Usyk is a top pound for pound all-time great fighter, and I mean, he's up there pretty high. I haven't really ranked them all yet, but I know I'm not going to go through too many names without mentioning Oleksander Usyk. But as far as a heavyweight is concerned, I want you guys to understand, okay?
So he's admitting Usyk's the all-time great in the sense of the pound-for-pound totality, but in the heavyweight division, I guess I've seen people, they've want to count Usyk's cruiserweight run as a part of his heavyweight run because Ali fought a lot of cruiserweights, right? Even though it was heavyweight back in the day, they fought at cruiserweight. I don't count his cruiserweight with his heavyweight run, but he's saying he's an all-time great fighter, not an all-time great heavyweight.
A lot of people are saying that Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight. But they saying that it's full of quality, right? I want you to understand, full of quality. Witherspoon isn't an all-time great heavyweight. His brother, Tim Witherspoon, you can argue. But Chad Witherspoon, no. Derek Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. He's a fantastic competitor, but if you look at who he fought and look at who he lost to, Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight.
Okay, maybe I missed it. He didn't say Tim Witherspoon.
He's not. Derek Chisora, Witherspoon isn't an all-time. I want you to understand. But they saying that it's full of quality, right? I want you to understand. Full of quality. Witherspoon isn't an all-time great heavyweight. His brother, Tim Witherspoon, you can argue. But Chad...
Okay. Just making sure we're saying Tim Witherspoon is an all-time great. Just making sure we got that clear.
Witherspoon, no. Who he lost to. Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not.
I agree with him. Chaz Witherspoon and Chisora, they're not all-time greats, right? Chisora was inside the top 10. Not all-time great, though. I agree.
Dubois is not yet an all-time great heavyweight. Look at who he fought, who he struggled with.
I think that's what makes Dubois even greater of a victory. Catching the guy on his way up before he becomes that great name is very impressive, right? So when you look at Lennox, when you look at Floyd Canelo, these are fights that are kind of remind me of Usyk Dubois. It was supposed to be a passing of the torch moment, but it was shut down abruptly. That's greatness. When you're so old and everybody's like, it's time for you to pass the torch down, and you're like, no, I'm still better than the young guys. I'm better than the guys who, when they were being born, I was 15 in the amateurs, 13 in the amateurs. That's greatness. Dubois going to go on to be all-time great heavyweight. He's right there. He's right there. He needs maybe 2 more like amazing wins, and he's punching his ticket. So catching Dubois on his way up before he becomes that great fighter, same way Lennox Vitali, Lennox beating Vitali on his way out and Vitali's on his way up. That's greatness. So when you're going down and fighters are coming up and you're still better than them on the way down, like Floyd versus Canelo, Canelo's coming up into the sport. Floyd's going down and out, and he was still better than him. That's greatness.
We lost to Dubois is not an all-time
But yes, he's not an all-time great heavyweight.
great heavyweight. So we're left with, when you say quality, we're left with Tyson the Gypsy King Fury and Anthony AJ Joshua. Now, if you guys think that AJ is an all-time great heavyweight, you can. I can understand that. I definitely.
He's for sure an all-time great heavyweight. Come on. That's a no-brainer. That's easy. Don't do AJ like that, man. And Fury's obviously one as well, but I need to see who ShowBizz puts above him, because there's not a lot of all-time great heavyweights who beat all-time great heavyweights. Usyk has beat two now that we can all consensus say he's beaten two all-time greats, and he's beat both of those guys twice, amounting to 4 total all-time great victories in the heavyweight division. How many boxers can you say that about? I'm really interested in what ShowBizz says here.
There's an argument to be made. But Anthony Joshua, when you think about him and a lot of ops from other great heavyweights, Anthony Joshua lost to the likes of Ruiz, been knocked out.
Every single all-time great heavyweight besides Marciano, Fury, and Usyk, I want to say, have lost fights they weren't supposed to lose. That's a fact. Ali was not supposed to lose against Frazier, Norton, Spinks, whoever. Every all-time great heavyweight has lost fights they weren't supposed to lose. Lennox Lewis lost to McCall. He lost to Rotman. Wasn't supposed to lose those fights. Both Klitschko brothers lost some fights they weren't supposed to lose. It's the heavyweight division. So AJ losing to Ruiz, I mean, he lost. Yeah, he came back. He rematched him. He beat he beat him pretty convincingly in the rematch. But I'm not holding that against AJ to the end of time. Every heavyweight's been there, done that. It was AJ's turn for the big upset against him. It happened. He went on, dominated him. I mean, it is what it is, in my opinion.
By Ruiz, was knocked out by Dubois.
It was AJ's 35 now, man. He's past it. He's past, like, the Dubois loss. That came like 3-4 years after Usyk beat him.
Anthony Joshua, I'm not sure if you would consider him an all-time great heavyweight, but you can make an argument. Tyson Fury definitely can.
You can. There's nothing to be on the fence about with Joshua. There's nothing to be. AJ is an all-time great heavyweight. Most certainly is. You could argue, and it's probably quite evident if you look at the resumes between Fury and AJ. AJ has more depth, and he's held more titles for a longer period of time.
So beating Tyson Fury twice is really Usyk's claim to fame. It's his thing. And plus, he became undisputed at heavyweight and recaptured it. Now, I know you guys are going to say, well, coming up from cruiserweight to heavyweight, being 2-time undisputed, 3-time undisputed, when you say those things, I agree with you. But that goes to him being an all-time great fighter, pound for pound. I'm talking about heavyweight. Remove that. Just his heavyweight run. Witherspoon.
I'm crying, dude. Like, ShowBizz, this was so urgent. ShowBizz is just recording in the car. Like, dude has just stopped at a red light. ShowBizz is easy. This guy's funny, man.
Chisora, AJ, Fury, Dubois. All right? Fury twice, AJ twice, Dubois twice. All right? When you look at that run, I cannot put that over the likes of Evander the Real Deal Holyfield.
That's fair. Holyfield did his thing. Tyson twice. Riddick Bowe once. George Foreman. But then he lost to John Ruiz. And then he lost to Michael Moore. And then he lost to Lennox Lewis twice, in my opinion. And James Toney. So I'm not mad if you put Holyfield over him. The guy got 10 losses at heavyweight, man. That hurts. That does hurt. Losses ain't everything, but that does hurt to a degree.
Fighting and beating the likes of Riddick Bowe, beating the likes of George Foreman. When he beat George Foreman was a killer.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. George Foreman was ranked 7th, 8th. No, he wasn't.
George Foreman, beating the likes of Iron Mike Tyson. He was a huge underdog there.
You know, it's tough. That was a great victory against Mike. He was the underdog. He wasn't supposed to beat Mike.
Beating the likes of Larry Holmes, beating Michael Moore, Evander beating Michael Dokes.
He beat Michael Moore? I thought Michael Moore beat him. Holyfield, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe ShowBizz is right. I thought Michael Moore beat Holyfield for the title. And then Michael Moore went on to fight Foreman on late notice. And that's how Foreman became champ.
Guys know who that is and how good of a fighter he was. Evander the Real Deal Holyfield has a different reign. I cannot put Usyk with his 5 heavyweight opponents over heavyweights, great heavyweights who made careers at heavyweight. We all know what Muhammad Ali did. Muhammad Ali beat the who's who of heavyweight greats. He fought them all and he beat them, okay? But then you have guys like Larry Holmes who have beaten the Ernie Shavers, who have beaten the Ken Nortons. You have the likes of Jack Johnson, which we...
Look, we can't sit here and put the microscope on Usyk's resume at heavyweight and then bring up Ernie Shavers and Ken Norton. Those aren't all-time greats, dog. Those are not all-time greats. No, Ernie Shavers never held a world title. Ken Norton never held, maybe he did hold a world title, but those are not all-time greats. If we're on the fence about AJ, those two most certainly are not all-time greats. If you're going to bring up Larry Holmes, I would rather hear his longevity as a champion and his undefeated record, because in terms of the quality opponents, Fury AJ clears anybody. What's my boy's name? Larry Holmes beat.
You look at his box rec, you see his record, and you don't...
And Jack Johnson, I don't want to hear about Jack Johnson, man.
Know what he had to overcome to be so great. You don't know that close to 100 of his professional fights were removed from his resume and his career because of the racism.
Jack Johnson's great within his own rights. I don't speak on Jack Johnson because I don't know Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson's not in my top 10. He's not in it, but he's not out of it. I don't know enough about Jack Johnson. There's not enough to go off record about Jack Johnson. On top of that, his era was absolute garbage. But I respect him. He was great within his own right. But if we're talking about circumstance and context, we got to go back and look at Usyk's resume. He beat AJ in Wembley. He beat Dubois in Wembley. 2 times he went into the UK, which is sort of formed and constructed its way as the heart of heavyweight boxing. And he's taken out their 2 best guys. He's walked in there and he's gotten more cheers than both those Englishmen. Why don't we add context on that? He went to Saudi, beat AJ. He went to Saudi, beat Fury twice in the same year. He went to Poland, beat Dubois. I think he beat Chisora in the UK as well. So let's add context on Usyk's resume as well. I get it. Jack Johnson's great within his own right. If you want to add the context of the racism and the circumstances at the time, yeah, for sure. But we must do that with every fighter.
Many of all of his draws were actually victories of his that they cheated him and called it a draw. Many fighters that he knocked out, they picked them up and raised their hands and called them winners. So a lot of his losses were robberies. So
that's why I don't touch on the Jack Johnsons, the Henry Armstrongs, the Harry Grebs, because it's too much, he said, she said. It's too much of this guy is saying this happened, that guy's, I don't know. It say he had like X amount of fights, but he probably had Y amount of fights with this many wins, this many losses, this many draws. I leave those guys alone. Anything before Ali, I leave alone. I leave it alone. Joe Louis, I leave alone. Marciano, I'm cool off him. I can't tell you much about him. Most of the film is lost.
You kind of look at George Foreman and his reign and what he did.
Foreman, let me hear what he has to say.
As a heavyweight, Lennox Lewis, who he beat, his reign, and what he's accomplished and what he's done as a heavyweight. You throw away all those fights, 30 plus, 40 plus fights, and this reign that Joe Louis had as a heavyweight, and you look at this reign and you say, no, Usyk's 5 ops beat
Joe Louis, like I said, I don't touch on Joe Louis. If you want to put Joe Louis over Usyk, that's fine. He had 26 title defenses. That's the most in the sports history, not just the heavyweight division. I like quality. I like quality. Yes, Lennox Lewis had, was he 44-2? 35 of those fights, 30 of those fights, 33, wherever. Empty. Not much going on. How many great fighters did Lennox Lewis beat? How many all-time greats did he beat when they were at an all-time great level? Can't think of much. My bad. He obviously got Holyfield. He was never able to get it down with Riddick Bowe, my bad. Vitaly Klitschko. Not many I could think of. George Foreman. Okay. Foreman called Joe Frazier. Outside of that, what are we looking at? We're looking at Ron Lau. Not all-time great. Never captured a world title. We're looking at Michael Moore. Not all-time great. If AJ's on the fence, Michael Moore is not all-time great. Lost to Tommy Morrison. Lost to Jimmy Young. Retired by Jimmy Young. Lost to Ali. Lost to Holyfield. It's not a lot of all-time great wins. That's what I'm saying. Usyk having 4 all-time great wins, it's pretty damn impressive. We cannot undermine that. Because George Foreman, in my opinion, only has 2, and that's Joe Frazier. That's it. And if you guys want to sit down and take a look at Joe Frazier's resume, his body of work, who Joe Frazier beat, you're going to be really disappointed.
Usyk beating Witherspoon, Usyk beating Chisora, Usyk beating Dubois, AJ and Tyson Fury beats that. Iron Mike Tyson, there's a lot of people that you know, when I bring up Larry Holmes as part of Iron Mike Tyson's career, they'd be like, well, he was washed. Larry Holmes only lost to Spinks. He lost to him twice. That was the only person he lost to. If you look at Larry Holmes, where he was at in his career, that was about where Tyson Fury was at in his career when he fought Usyk. But we given Usyk Tyson Fury, but not Mike Tyson, Larry Holmes. Cool. Mike Tyson beat Spinks and Holmes. He beat Frank Bruno and Razor Ruddock. People don't understand what Mike.
These aren't all-time greats. Frank Bruno, Razor Ruddock, we're not naming all-time greats. Like, I get it. These guys are the older guys and they have that nostalgic aura to them. But these guys aren't all-time greats. They were really good for their era. They were Joe Parkers. These are a bunch of Get Caballeros. They're not really moving the needle for me in terms of all-time great heavyweights. Yes, it's nice to have a bunch of good names, and I know every fight on your resume can't be an all-time great fighter, but Mike Tyson has 0. Mike Tyson's never beat an all-time great fighter at an all-time great level. Never. He's not going over Usyk.
Tyson did. He beat Olympic gold medals himself and Henry Tillman. What I'm saying is,
like, come on, ShowBizz. Look what we said. Henry Tillman, bro. I get it. You're trying to, like, twist the narrative to fit your argument. Henry Tillman, ShowBizz. You're going to make me take off these damn shades, man.
A lot of you guys who don't understand who Rocky Marciano is and how he's gone.
He too old for me. Just too old for me. Not enough to watch. Not even a heavyweight. He fought at 180.
Undefeated, and him beating the Jersey Joe Walcotts of the world and Ezra Charles twice. What Rocky
Ezra Charles, light heavyweight.
Marciano accomplished, a lot of you guys don't give Rocky Marciano his love by saying Usyk has trumped that with his 5 ops. This is incredible to hear.
Let's be honest. Who did Marciano beat outside of Walcott? Not Archie Moore. Walcott, Ezra Charles, and Joe Louis. Marciano's only considered a top 10 heavyweight by ShowBizz and whoever considers him top 10 because he beat those 3. That's it. He beat a light heavyweight, a very old Joe Louis, and a very old Jersey Joe Walcott. And based off of that, he's considered top 10.
Here, that if you don't understand and you're ignorant to it, that's one thing. But to call me a hater for saying that his 5 op run at heavyweight is trumping all these fighters had great heavyweights who had a great career at heavyweight, quality and quantity. You want me to put Usyk with his 5 ops at heavyweight over them and say that that's hating, when in reality I'm saying that he's an all-time great fighter pound for pound after what he accomplished at cruiserweight in the Olympics, moving up to heavyweight and beating the top of the heavyweight of this era. Usyk is the best heavyweight of this era because he beat the best of this era. But when you say all-time great heavyweight, top 10, and when you look at his heavyweight run, no. But if you look at his career as a pound for pound fighter, definitely. Now, if you disagree, that's okay. But at least what I'm saying is rooted in some sort of rationale. And for you guys to troll and say that that's only due to hate, you guys are undermining the thoughtful argument that I have, all because we disagree. ShowBizz for adult.
I love ShowBizz. He's a great guy right there. I was willing to hear his thought process, and I see where he's coming from. But let me pull up some guys' resume so we can get a better idea of what we're saying here. Am I logged in? Of course I'm not. Let's take Evander Holyfield. But yeah, ShowBizz is great. We'll take Evander Holyfield. When does he move up to heavyweight? His first heavyweight bout, it wasn't Cowie. Who would it have been? I guess Michael Dokes in '89, or Pinkland, or James Tillis. Yeah, probably Tillis. Okay, so Holyfield, we're looking at his heavyweight run from '88 to 2012, 2011. We'll look at his prime year. So '88, we're looking at James Tillis, not great. Pinkland Thomas, while being a Hall of Famer, I want to say he won a gold medal, was a world champion, not an all-time great. Michael Dokes, no. Rodriguez, I don't even know who the hell that is, no. Alex Stewart, no. Samois McDonough, no. James Douglas, Buster Douglas, no. George Foreman, all-time great heavyweight, absolutely. Was he at a great point in his career? Maybe not, but I'll give him the nod. Yeah, George Foreman, great win. Burt Cooper, no. Larry Holmes, no, not at that time. Riddick Bowe, he lost to Riddick Bowe in this one. Alex Stewart again. I don't know why he fought Alex Stewart again. Then he goes on to beat Riddick Bowe. Okay. Riddick Bowe and George Foreman. Michael Moore, he lost to. All right, I knew he lost to Michael Moore. He went on to beat him. Okay, that's what happened. So Riddick Bowe, he beat. That's his second one. Michael Moore, he lost to. Ray Mercer, he beat. Riddick Bowe then stopped him. Bobby Sees, don't know who that is. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Mike Tyson, back to back. Really great fights, really great victories. Michael Moore, he beats, not an all-time great. Being, loses to Lennox twice, loses to John Ruiz, beats Rodman, loses to Chris Bird. And then I'm like, okay, Holyfield's out of his prime. So, in totality, all-time greats he beat at heavyweight. I'm not saying Foreman. I can't say Foreman. When you look at where Foreman... Give me a second. Let me do this. Let me log into BoxRec so you guys can see what I'm kind of saying. Did not mean to do that. Let me log into a BoxRec. Here we go. But yeah. It's kind of hard to explain if we can't really take a look at these guys' resumes. There we go. I could have blurred that out in editing. Didn't feel like it. So, we're looking at George Foreman. Where's he at? George Foreman in 91. So we're looking at George Foreman. This was his first 12-round fight since coming back. You see what I'm saying? George Foreman had beaten nobody since coming back. Nobody. Empty. He beat Muhammad Cowie in a 10-rounder. Natural cruiserweight. Cowie's like fucking... excuse me. He was like 5'8". So I'm not high on Cowie on that end. Then you have after losing to Holyfield, he doesn't beat anybody until he gets the late notice shot against Moore, and then he continues to go on, and his career it's okay. There was no really big defining wins outside of the Moore one for George Foreman. All right, we'll go back. Riddick Bowe, like I said, he lost to twice. He got stopped by Riddick Bowe. And then he beats Tyson twice, which I think are great wins. Riddick Bowe, I believe. Like, if Riddick Bowe isn't an all-time great, I can't call AJ. We can't say, I'm saying if AJ isn't an all-time great, I don't know if Riddick Bowe is one either. When you take out Riddick Bowe's body of work, we're looking at Holyfield. Like, he has the Bruce Seldons, he has the Tony Tubbs, Tyrell Biggs, I thought it was Tommy Morrison, Pinklin Thomas. Right, these are guys that just lost to everybody that was somewhat great. They lost to Tommy Morrison, Riddick Bowe, Vander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, Trevor Berbick. Like Pinklin Thomas is not moving me on anybody's resume. He lost to he was a Derek Chisora at that point. He was Derek Chisora in a really less talented era. But Riddick Bowe, no all-time greats on here besides Holyfield. So I got to look and see how great Riddick Bowe is. I'm just using ShowBizz's logic. I'm not seeing a whole lot of traction, whole lot of motion on Holyfield's resume. And then you take into account he lost to John Ruiz, then went to a draw with John Ruiz, and then lost to Chris Burton. And that's why I think you kind of got to cut his prime off, or anything close to his prime you cut off in 2002, right? Maybe even before that. But who else could we take, for example? We'll take George. We kind of looked at George. We'll take Lennox Lewis. So we look at Lennox Lewis, Vitali, great. Mike, no. Rodman, no. Rodman again, no. He got stopped by Rodman. David Tua, no. Both are no. Holyfield, at that point, I'll give it to him. Right, I thought he beat him twice. He only beat him once. So I give him one all-time great win. Or Holyfield and Klitschko. I don't know who this is. Who is this? Shannon Briggs, no. Gallardo, no. Gallardo, my bad. McCall, no. He lost to McCall. He got stopped by McCall. Ray Mercer, no. Morrison, no. Bruno, no. Tucker, Ruddick, Biggs. You see what I'm saying? Look at, if you want Usyk to, let's take a look at, when does he have his first true fight? When did he first fight for a world title is the good question. Tony Tucker. So all these fights, they're empty. This does not go into your all-time great heavyweight run. So when you're looking at Lennox, and most of these fights are empty. When you're looking at Lennox, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 legit fights that I would say goes into his all-time greatness. 22. Rest of these I don't care for. Some of these above it I don't care for. You know, Tony Tucker was for the world title, so I give him that much. But Phil Jackson, come on. Oliver McCall, which he lost. He got stopped in 2. I got to hold that against Lennox as well. He got stopped in 2 by a guy who was far from great. You know what I mean? Look at this guy. A guy who was very far from great. So that's just the way I'm looking at it. Lennox then went on to take a backseat and didn't grab a world title back until 3 years after that. And when I'm looking at Usyk, I'm looking at pure perfection. I'm looking at flawlessness, and I'm looking at longevity as well. The guy's 38, he'll be 39 in January. I don't know. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent right here. This video is extremely long, but you guys let me know. Do y'all have Usyk as a top 10 heavyweight like me? Or do y'all think he should take a back seat to the Vanders, the Foremans, and the Lennox Lewises of the world? You guys let me know in the comments below.